about taking whatever is in your freezer and finding creative ways to really enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah, so tonight we're going to be preparing, right?
Barbecued wild venison Philly cheesesteak.
Philly cheesesteak. And yeah, we had to say it twice because it's that incredible.
It's that incredible. So, number one problem, right? You're hungry and you get home and you're like, oh my gosh. You remember the taste of venison. You're like, man, I could really go for some, but it's frozen. I didn't have time to thaw it. A roast. Let's see that roast, buddy.
Right here.
First of all, look at the color of this. It's so gorgeous. So you've got that frozen roast, and you're like, man, how do I turn this into a Philly cheesesteak? Well, we've got to wait for you to do it, and we've got some other exciting things too. I want you to have a look at these incredible rolls. So these are Amarosa style rolls. Yep. So this is a roll that we're going to teach you how to make tonight. Look at that beautiful inside. Oh, yeah. So if you went to Philly, and those of you from Philly, I don't want to get any nasty messages. I'm doing my best here. I'm doing Philly proud. I love Philadelphia. This is what you'd get it served on. You'd have a beautiful Amarosa style bun. Now, Amarosa was a bakery that really started, it smells amazing, that started this. And then we're going to go to some really great familiar flavors. So we got bell peppers. And we've got a beautiful, I asked my wife to get me a yellow onion.
I don't know what that is.
I think she just got the biggest steroid onions you can
elephant
find.
onion?
Elephant onion. And then some Portobello. It's the same thing here. I asked her for baby Portobello. This is what you got me. You could serve somebody on that. Anyway, so there's a lot of familiar flavors going on here. But what I do love, and what we love about this is something we'll make at camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. Because you can do this in one pan.
You got, if you have, like Dad said, this roast is frozen solid. If this is still frozen in the cooler, what you bring up, all you got to do is take your knife, and if you can, just real tough, just shave those pieces off, throw it on the campfire over the cast iron.
For a minute.
And these ingredients are so easy to bring along with you. I mean, you have peppers, mushrooms, onion, and a little bit of cheese. All those things you can toss in a cooler. You can beat them up. It's not going to hurt them.
One thing we always get when we go camping is they're like, oh, we're not going to take that into the woods. We always make sure when we're planning our trips, we got like a 4x2 space for the biggest cooler we got, full of food, because that's the best part about camping.
And that's what coolers are for.
Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make one of these Amarosa style buns. And it's just as easy as a little bit of bread flour, some yeast, a little bit of egg wash, honey, and some water. I don't think it could get much more simpler than that.
No, and so the nice thing about using the bread flour is it has the baking powder and baking soda measured into it.
Right into it.
So it makes it really simple. The key to really doing recipes like this is being able to do it with just a few simple ingredients. So 6 cups going in.
6 cups of this bread flour going in. You'll see I'm leveling these off to make sure. One thing that you want to make sure when you're baking, it's not like a lot of the cuisine stuff. It needs to be an exact science when you're baking. Otherwise, especially with all that baking powder, baking soda mixed in, you can really get some wonky results.
And one thing I had no idea about until my parents became chef is dry measure and wet measure. I still don't fully understand it. We got to make sure you got dry and wet measure, otherwise it doesn't turn out the same.
Yeah, and it's a good point. So one of the keys to any kind of baking is to make sure to incorporate all of your dry ingredients first. So Dakota's going to put all of the flour in, and then we've got a little bit of pinch of salt that's going to go in there.
Yep.
And then what we'll do is we've got 2 cups of water. So this is just tap water. It's still water, but it's a little bit warm. And what that does is that helps to activate the yeast. So what I'll do is I'll put 1 tablespoon of yeast in. And so again, by the way, this roast we're cooking tonight was from Dakota's first whitetail deer back in December. So this is 1 tablespoon of yeast going in. And then what we've got here is some local wildflower honey.
And so what it does, why we're mixing those together, is we're going to let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes. And what the yeast does is it actually starts to consume all the sugars in that honey.
It's hungry.
And it's hungry. It's going to eat that up, and you'll see that start to bubble up. And when it starts to bubble and come alive, that's when you know it's ready to go in.
It's already starting to go.
Yep, so you just need to whisk it. One of the things you need to know about yeast is that it does have an expiry date.
Yep.
So if you've ever had any frustration with bread or rolls or anything like that where you've used yeast, make sure to check the expiry date. I gotta tell you, you gotta keep it fresh. Once you open that package, you don't have a whole lot of time with it. So literally we'll just take and set that aside, but I wanna show you what it's gonna look like. So here earlier today, we were working on some of this beautiful dough. So this is 1/8 of what we made.
Yep.
So literally all you're gonna do is, this is the risen dough. So I'll show you how because I wanna get these in the oven.
Yeah.
We're gonna we've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm gonna take that, I'm just gonna gently form that in my hand. And all we're gonna do is just kind of elongate it.
I just want to show you guys the texture of this dough. And like you said, this is only 1/6 of it. So with 6 cups of flour, you get a ton of dough out of it.
Yeah. And like he said with the yeast, it expires quick, but if you do something, like Coach said, so few ingredients, make fresh bread every night for dinner, no matter what you're doing. It tastes so good, and like we started here, we couldn't stop smelling it. It makes your house smell like a bakery. That's how good it is.
So this is the key, and there's a lot of confusion where this is concerned. So right now, I have this. I'm going to proof this again. I'm going to get Bailey to put this in the lower oven. Here you go. I don't have it turned on. I just have the lights on in the oven. So it creates a slightly heated, slightly humid environment. And one of the big questions is, what do you do with the dough? So Dakota's going to start mixing this together momentarily as soon as this activates.
Yep.
Once it comes together, you need to let it rise. So mix the dough, let it rise for about an hour. It'll double in size. Then you want to take that out and you want to punch it down a little bit, divide it into the portion sizes like I just did, and then let that rise and then bake it off. Now you can do this by hand if you don't have a stand mixer, but what we have on is the dough hook attachment. And the beautiful thing about a dough hook attachment is that it does so much of the work for you. So you literally turn that on, and then you'll see the foam. See the foam on the top of that? So we know it's slightly activated, and I'm just gonna start to add this in. So that dough hook acts like the forearms and the hands of a strong baker, and it starts to bring it together. One of the things I love about bell peppers is that they hold for a long time. They're incredibly flavored. And when you're talking about, kind of a palate, a Philly cheesesteak has everything. It's got the rich and creamy provolone.
Yep.
It's got a little bit of what we call umami, which is literally, if you're a good cook, you've got umami going on. What it is it is a well-rounded, all-consuming flavor, and the mushrooms really have it. And then, of course, the sweetness that comes from the onions.
And the onions are so sweet, and the bell peppers are a little bit both, astringent and sweet.
They do. There's an acidity, and so when you saute them as we are, now we've got, out in our shop, we've got the asado grill going. We got it up to about 450 degrees, so it'll be ready to go once we get out there. I always love this technique because for me, there's very little, if not any waste. And to me, it's so intuitive because the peppers, they're 3 or 4 sided. So you literally just take the 4 sides down, you can nick the bottom off. Literally no waste. And the other thing is, it's extremely easy.
Yep.
Once I've done that, I can just take that little rib out. So that rib is something I want to take out. And then when you're using just need a cloth there, buddy. When you're slicing this, you want to make sure to slice it with the skin down. If you slice it skin on top, that skin is really slippery, and sometimes your knife will jump right off there. And then nice long strips. You notice the rocking motion of my knife. You'll hear us talk about it again and again. When you're using any chef's knife, you want to make sure you hold that so you have full control. So it becomes an extension of you. Start by pinching the blade at this point, roll your 3 fingers underneath, and then keep the tip of it on the cutting board. And when you do, just activate that rocking motion. That rocking motion will keep the knife stable. And if any of you are a little bit timid about using a knife, this will certainly help. So there we've got, this cut is a julienne. So we've got a julienne of red pepper. We're gonna do the same with the green pepper. And Dakota, before you go away with that, I want to show you something. Look at the work that this dough hook is doing. So what's happening now, we've gone beyond combining the ingredients, and now we're starting to knead the ingredients. So what would happen is, if I had that out on a board, I'd roll and turn, and roll and turn, and roll and turn, and continue that for 5 minutes. If I've got a stand mixer, then all that action is taking place on its own, and I can bring that beautiful dough together. Code, let's have a look at it here. It looks like it's just perfect and ready to go. Look at that. Like all those sticky ingredients, and they come right off. Now I want to show you the texture of this because it's absolutely beautiful. Bailey, look at the texture of this.
Yeah, that's
so,
crazy.
Yeah, so it's absolutely beautiful. You can see it's got a nice little bit of reveal. So at this point, what you want to do is literally just take a little bit of oil, grab a little bit of olive oil there, and literally a drop in the bottom there. No, in there. Yeah, in there. So, and then what we'll do is literally put it in, roll it around. This is just so it doesn't stick. Couple quick notes about knives since we brought it up. So this is a honing steel. This will bring your knife back to sharp, but if you really need, this really just takes the edge of your knife that might be slightly bent or worn from even one evening's use, and it goes like this and it brings it back straight. So what you do is you find this edge, and using this angle, this is a perfect angle, and you literally draw it. Now you can do it a few ways. You can draw it down like this, okay? And especially when you're starting, this is a great way to start because it allows you the confidence that if it slips, it's on the board, no problem. But that's what that guide is for. And you'll get comfortable with it to the point, if you do this on a regular basis, you know, the safest knife is a sharp knife.
Yeah, the reason that you don't want to lightly graze that, you still need about 6 pounds of pressure when you're pulling that knife across that honing steel.
Yeah, and if you're just starting, like he said, take it slow on the board. When I first started learning to sharpen a knife in the kitchen, it was one graze at a time, real slow. You definitely don't want to cut yourselves, and like he's been doing it for 10 years, and when he goes, he'll be like cooking in the kitchen real fast, he'll just go like this.
But his face is the funnier thing.
It's like,
Hey, it's a serious operation we got going here. So what I've done with the Portobello mushrooms is I've just taken the stem off, and these are going to be beautiful, nice big chunks. So I'll put those over here.
Right.
You know, you can imagine rolling home, like I said, you're tired, you need something decent to eat, or maybe somebody's popping by and you want to treat them. Let's talk about whitetail, what it means to take a whitetail deer and what it means to be able to share that experience.
I mean, like he said, this is my whitetail deer from last fall. This deer we took in late season. It was about the middle of December from a tree stand using, this one was a crossbow, an X-Cal micro crossbow.
55 yards.
And it was a 55-yard shot. This guy came in and I just said to myself, you're not leaving. It was my first whitetail deer. I had already sat in that tree stand for 2 weeks in the middle of December. And
you had practiced up to 60 yards.
Yeah, and I had practiced out to 60 yards because I knew it was my first one and I really wanted to get one that year. We'd only had about 15 days left in the season, so I took that shot. And it was a perfect shot. That X-Cal was right on the dot.
Yeah, I was actually I was up in the tree stand with him. I was filming him for our show. Yeah. And I remember I was just getting set. I was getting the camera ready, and he looked like he was about to take off. And I was like, oh, maybe, maybe not. But then he stepped into like this little triangle opening in the trees, and I barely had the camera up and ready, and all I heard was a boom. Yep. I was actually so excited I didn't get the shot.
And
hit the button.
And after Dakota pushed him out of the tree stand, and
he recovered fine though.
He was okay. Yeah, he was a little bit of
I had the harness on.
Yeah, but like he was saying, the experience, you know, like he said, he was in the tree stand beside me. Dad was in the blind below me.
Yeah.
All three of us were there. We experienced it as a family, and that's what hunting's about, is that we want to get outdoors, experience it with our families, and all these learning experiences along the way, you know, they grow people in ways that until you become a hunter and outdoorsman, you will not understand.
You just don't understand it, and that's something that makes us so appreciative of this opportunity. Now, this monstrous onion we showed you earlier, I want to show you the best way. Now, listen, I want to remember, I want to match it. So this is a julienne, which is just very simply a long strip. Yeah. So you notice I have long strips of mushroom. Hold that up there, son. Yep. Long strips of mushroom, long strips of pepper. So what I want to do now is I want to do long strips of the onion. And the best way to do that is literally to take off the top of the onion and to take off the root of the onion, making sure to take off enough that it will completely come apart. Then take and slice it in half. One of the great things about using or slicing things and getting a flat edge is once you get a flat edge, if I try and cut this, look at this. This is moving around. This is not safe. One of the very first things we teach in culinary school is stability. So it's flat, it's cut, it's stable, it's ready to go. Now, if I was to cut it this way, like this, across this, I'd have uneven rings, okay? They'd be all different sizes. But if I take it and slice it perpendicular or right from root to tip and pass my knife through it, I'm gonna get that beautiful julienne cut I'm looking for. Oh my goodness.
Like you said, keeping that same size, because you'll hear us say time and time again, it's for cooking. You want all your cooking elements to be evenly cooked together, otherwise you're gonna get, you know, your onion's not gonna be fully cooked, your mushroom's not gonna be quite soft enough.
And it'll come out like that, and all you gotta do is just separate them. And then you have those, like you said, those long julienne cuts.
Legit.
Oh, you even need half an onion.
Yeah.
It's actually a gorgeous onion.
It's beautiful. Well, you know what's interesting? Getting good knives is the start, because actually I wouldn't be without just one chef knife. It's worth spending the money. Think about it. It's just the same as this. So it's a great point. So you can take, you can take the Rain 7, and this is a piece of professional gear that I take to the woods with me. And this, for me, is what I take to the kitchen. Now, I can buy a whole bunch of different bows, I can spend the time and money, or I can buy one. I can buy one that'll last me for years and years and years. And it's the same thing with kitchen tools. It's really, really
You're just
important.
removing the frustration from your life. You know, you can sit there and try and sight in a bow over and over and over again and not have consistency.
Yep.
If you want consistency in the kitchen, you do the same thing. You buy one great tool, like you said, even if it's just a chef knife. I mean, if you can buy, what you need in the kitchen is a chef knife, a bread knife, and a paring knife, and you can accomplish anything.
So what we're gonna do now is I wanna show you how this meat shaves off. There is nothing like this incredible venison. Now, to be honest, I had high expectations, and I really believed that we would find, something special when we harvested and killed our first whitetail. But honestly, I never expected this kind of food quality. Are you looking at this? I mean, for me to do something, this looks like a slab of prosciutto. Excuse me. This looks like something, the marbling on it, the texture, everything that's going on in there is absolutely incredible. So what I've got here is I just have a simple slicer, and what I'll do is, and it's, I want to start off by saying, slicers, keep your hand away from the blade completely, but I'll show you how easy this is. Now all I'm going to do is just run my hand. Oh, hold on. When I washed this sucker, I didn't reconnect it. Sorry, guys. There we go.
That's why he's not letting me use it.
There we go. Nope. Still didn't connect it. The problem was I didn't let the mechanic do it.
Don't inflate his ego.
There we go. Connected. So you see I get these wafer thin slices that are just beautiful. And the thing is, they're coming off, and that's frozen meat. Now here's the beautiful thing. I'm not going to do too much more because we've got lots. But here's the beautiful thing for me. This, I haven't thawed the whole thing. Now I can wrap this back up. I'll give this to Bay. He's going to wrap it back up. You know where that can go? Back in the freezer. So I've got this, which is now going to be nicely thawed. By the time we get out to that grill, this will be completely thawed. I was able to do a quick meal. I was able to keep my venison in perfect condition, and I was able to make something really, really fast. If we weren't doing all this yakking, I'd have this done in 10 or 15 minutes. And so here's the thing about slicing something when you're butchering it. When you're butchering it, if you can leave it whole, you're going to be further ahead. If you can leave it whole, it will last longer in the freezer. Think about how long ground beef lasts or ground venison compared to a venison roast. Is very simply, we want to keep the air away from it, and I'm telling you, it was Brandy. that said that? I'm telling you, Brandy, this is really simple.
It's so
and
easy,
it's
yeah.
so easy, and I'm telling you, it's so fresh to do it this way.
Yep.
You're literally taking and slicing it off wafer thin, and by the time you go to cook it, it's going to be thawed. It's going to be perfect.
Another thing is it takes away from the meat as well. If I sliced a bunch like this, put it in a bowl, had it frozen, then de-thawed it, it's kind of going to look like mush. Whereas if I take a nice frozen roast,
Oh, that's a good point.
slice
Yep.
it out, I'm going to have things like this where I can just set that on the barbecue, and the results are going to be 100% better.
We pulled it out
10
rock
minutes.
solid, and you know, you won't believe it, but it's frozen solid. So that's the benefit of this. Again, if you're just joining us, you roll home. You know, maybe you want to have a little, you know, venison hash on a Saturday morning.
Yep.
You think, how, you know, I don't want, I don't have any bacon, ran out of sausage. Wait, I've got that venison roast.
Yep.
You just slice some of that off, frozen.
Yep.
That way, if you've got a great big roast,
Yep.
you don't waste this. How many times
Oh, it happens.
have we de-thawed the whole thing, used some of it, and then you're like, oh my god, it's gonna go bad. We gotta do something with it.
Especially if you pre-think it through, you know that when you cut that and butcher that off your animal, you label it Philly cheesesteak.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you know that one you're gonna take and you're gonna slice pieces off that. So maybe beforehand, what you do is you remove all the silver skin and do all that kind
Yep,
of stuff.
clean it up.
So it's ready to go as soon as you slice it.
Or keep it in the freezer, you know, right upstairs, so that you always have a little meat, kind of like you keep bacon in the crisper in the fridge. Keep this in the freezer. You want eggs in the morning? Had bacon a couple nights in a row, pull this out, slice some pieces off it, make an omelet with venison. It's so accessible if you do it this
But what
way.
I would do, Brenda, is that if you wanted to pre-slice it and then refreeze it, I would slice it frozen, lay parchment down, and I would lay the pieces out and then roll that up and put it in the freezer. That way you're gonna get away from, you know, pulling out a saran wrap block of all this sliced meat. Lay it out on parchment, fold, lay it out, fold, lay it out, fold, then wrap that up and tuck it in the freezer.
So my prep, we're gonna head out to the barbecue now. I'm gonna give Bailey the provolone. I've got my veggies, and I've got these beautiful Amarosa style rolls. You know, when we go to Philly this summer, I'm gonna go to this bakery. And I'm telling you, if anybody is from Philly, or if anybody knows somebody from Philly, I need to hear from you right now, okay? Let's go to the barbecue, I'll follow you. So I've got my asado grill. This is made by Coyote. This thing is sick. Have a look at this, oh my God. Look at this, 450 degrees. And we've got a beautiful, let's throw the fire down here. Oh, can we see that down there? I don't know if you can get that. Nice. So you can see now I'm a big fan of Lodge cast iron. You can see here I've got a cast iron grill, and I'm going to put some of it. You've seen us use canola oil. Now I'm going to have a little bit of trouble because here on the driveway I'm going to be losing some of the oil. But I'm going to go down. Onions are going to go on. Okay? And I'm going to do this in the layers that they'll cook. So the onions will cook up. Ben, I'm going to need a pair of tongs, buddy.
Okay.
And then we'll throw on some of this beautiful pepper. Oh man, it smells so good already. So peppers are going on. And then I'm going to do some mushrooms on the side here. Now, the thing about the venison is it's going to cook really, really quick. I'm going to drizzle this with some more of this camelina. Camelina is a high smoke oil, beautiful fragrance, and this is cold prep, so it's just perfect. Thanks, buddy. So we'll just get these. You can see that heat activated right away. One of the things that's really important here is to get the salt on it. So salt, and I've got some pepper. Salt's going to bring out some of the liquid. It's going to give me great seasoning. And so one of the things about getting ready to cook outside is to make sure you have everything ready to go ahead of time. So number one, preheat your grill. If you've got, this is a charcoal grill, make sure you preheat it 30 to 45 minutes ahead of time. And then if you're using a gas grill, propane or natural gas, 10 to 15 minutes is lots. But if you're going to use cast iron, get it in there and let it heat right up. 400, 500 degrees, no problem. Get a little bit of oil on it, season it. They love the heat. Don't hesitate with the heat. it's going to cook faster the more heat you've got on it. So we've got 450 degrees here, so I'm just going to keep on sauteing this up a little bit.
Another way to add a little bit of flavor if you want to try something new is change up your olive oil. You know, there's so many different olive oils out there, or any kind of oil. We got camelina oil here, and it really adds different flavors. I know they have like lemon oil and all kinds of different stuff.
So the nice thing, you can imagine if we were in Philadelphia right now, and again, if you know somebody from Philly, I want to hear from you. I've had a Philly cheesesteak on the streets of Philadelphia, and I'm telling you what they do. They're slaving over these giant flat tops. They're throwing onions and they're throwing peppers and mushrooms, and they'll actually do it even with Cheese Whiz. We're going to use provolone. Provolone for me is the pure Philly cheesesteak. So now that we've got this started, this whole process doesn't take too long, but you can see we started to get some color there, which is kind of nice. I'm just going to move that to one side, and now we're going to move into using this beautiful venison. I'm literally going to start laying this down, and oh man, as soon as that hits the grill, it smells so incredible. And this is precisely why we slice it thin, because this is a quick cooking method. We want to get the heat on it, and I don't know about you, but being well done is not critical for me. I like it to have a little bit of pink left in there, and a little bit of, you know, that means flavor, and it sure does mean that it stays tender. So pepper, you can see it's starting to cook already. And some salt. And I'm just going to close up that asado, and we'll just leave that for just a couple minutes.
That browned really fast, eh?
Yeah, oh, it came
That
up really
thin
nice.
venison?
So, so this is what we're using. We're using lump charcoal and natural charcoal, which is my favorite thing to use. It's a bit more expensive, but I'm telling you, you use less of it in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Started with just simple newspaper. You know, there's no chemicals needed, there's no gas needed. And the one thing is, if you have this around, you always have a source of fire.
Oh yeah. Now, I've always wondered, can you use like charcoal from your fire? Like,
Yeah, of course, that's all that is.
That's it?
That's what that is. So this is coming along nice. Now, look how fast that cooks. I'm just gonna turn that over. We're just gonna turn that up just a little bit, just to make sure we got it all rolling here. This is cooking down really
That
nice.
looks so good.
Doesn't that look good?
If you guys could smell this right now, oh my god.
And so one of the great things about cooking with charcoal and any natural product is that you get the ability to get that smoke, to get that flavor that would otherwise not be there. So what you do with a Philly cheesesteak is literally just begin to combine this together. And I gotta kind of measure it for the size of buns we have. So I got a bun this big. I wanna make sure I get something that'll fit on there. So peppers on, all of this beautiful venison in there. And then what you do is you just kind of group that up on the grill. And then you've got provolone. So the provolone cheese is rich and creamy. And what we'll do is literally just take some slices, and it kind of acts like the glue. So we'll just put that over top just like that. Oh yeah, it smells so good. And we want that to melt. So we're gonna close that back up. And now we're gonna go inside, and we'll come back in just a minute. So we've been rolling now for a few minutes, and this is what, okay, so you can see. So this has now doubled in size, and I wanna show you what we'll do. Let's take and demonstrate this in real time. So what you wanna do is turn this out. Now we've got a little bit of oil in there. You can see how easily that flops out, just perfect. So that little bit of oil will keep, no, I think I should be good. This is great texture. So literally all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take and I'm gonna slice that. I start by dividing it in half first. That way I can really get the measurements accurately. And then I quarter it, and then by eighths. This is just perfect. Grab me another sheet of parchment there, Bailey, in the drawer. And then what you do is you take a heavy bottom sheet pan, and sheet parchment is really critical. So just literally fold that in half. And this is where having a couple of the right tools is really important. So parchment will keep it from sticking. And then literally all you do, Base, just tuck that side in, just like that. And just literally, just show a little bit of love. That's it. And if you want like a shorter, fatter bun, you can leave it. Or if you want a more like a sub type of a bun, you can literally just stretch it out like that, and then you just arrange it, just like that. So the rolls, I've given it, there's enough space between each of the rolls that as the bread begins to proof, I can cover it just like this and put that in that lower oven, and we can set that to proof. Grab me the one that's down there. So the key is to keep it covered. If you don't have it covered, what happens is you start to get a bit of a crust, and it'll be unpleasant and won't work nicely for you. So these have proofed up nicely. So all they do in Philly, I know they use razor blades, but literally all I'm gonna do is just you take a slice like this, look at that dough, isn't that gorgeous? And like this, and then this is a mixture of egg and water. So you just do an egg and water mixture, just like that, and on both. And then I've got, and it's really important to preheat your oven. So preheat the oven, 350 degrees, and then you know what? We're gonna go straight outside. Come on. We're gonna pop this in, 350 degrees, and that's only gonna take 15 minutes. Are you ready for this? Oh, yeah. Okay, so now here comes the key. You wanna make sure you got your bun sliced. Now you can toast this, but I don't think you need to. The other thing, sometimes they dig out the centers, and so what I want to do is I'm just literally going to take this. Look at this. Oh, look at the glue. It's just like glue, boys. It's just like glue, and literally like that. Come on. Now that is a beautiful Philly cheesesteak. Don't leave any of this venison behind. So that's how she'd go out the door if you're walking the streets of Philadelphia. I don't know what to say, boys. Who wants to try it? You can try it. Yeah, there you go.
It's his deer, so we should.
It's your deer, so you should try first. Just don't burn your mouth. Oh yeah, look at that cheese. It's so dirty. It's awesome. Okay.
He just wants another bite. I'm no word of a lie here with saying this is probably the best thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. It is delicious.
Yeah.